to this week's edition of Movie Men. We've got four of us here. We've got the legendary Dan Brownie. We've got the cerebral Chase Darlington. And we've got the annoying AF Justin Heyer joining us tonight with yours truly, Bo. That's me. And tonight we're going to be doing a nomination that Chase picked last week, which was the Steven Spielberg classic from 1991, Hook. Chase, why do you think this movie's perfect?
Yeah, so I have thought long and hard about this movie, whether I wanted to nominate it or not. So, child of the 90s, I grew up watching this movie relentlessly, very quotable as a child. And man, if there was not something that we all wanted to be, which is Rufio, right? Everybody wanted to be Rufio. And so, exceptional child movie. It's basically the perfect Peter Pan sequel, right? We all watched the 1950s Disney cartoon. And if you were to do a sequel of Peter Pan, what better way to do it than Peter Pan's a grown-up, he has kids, and he's got to go back to Neverland. I know that they did a Return to Neverland with Wendy and all that, and it kind of mediocre, mid, wasn't very good, right? Straight to VHS type of movie. But when Steven Spielberg goes, hey, I want to tell the Peter Pan story, but a little bit different, I believe he struck gold. Which is funny because I differ from his view of this movie. He is not a huge fan of it, and he tries to give it a chance, and he can't capture what makes it so great and why people love it so much. But as I've been thinking about it, some of the things that I've really latched onto, and why I think it's great, is that it hits on so many levels. So first off, as a kid, top tier Peter Pan movie, great, action's great, it's quotable, it's funny, it's very kid oriented. There's a lot there as a kid to enjoy. And now that I'm a grown up and I have kids, it hits at a incredibly different level. It's deeper. There's a lot of emotion there. If you listen to some of the dialogue, which we'll get into a little bit later, there's just so much there that captures what it's like being an adult and wishing you could still be a kid, and what it's like having kids, and kind of some of those struggles and turmoils and everything. And so to me, I believe that Hook is a great movie superficially, where you can just sit back. It's a great popcorn flick. It's got great, an incredible soundtrack. It's an easy to follow kind of story. But if you pay attention and you really hone in, there is so much nuance and Easter eggs, and just little great lines of dialogue or kind of revelations that just make this movie so emotionally compelling. And so I would say from a starting position, that's where I would say I believe this movie's perfect. And I have a list of cool little things that I've pulled out that I want to talk about. But that's my going in stance. What say ye?
Justin, let's hear from you. Your relationship with this movie. Did you watch it on repeat like we did as a kid? This was on our regular rotation of VHS tapes when mom and dad were going out for a date. What movie do you want to watch? Hook was always in the conversation, at least in our house.
Was it with the first night?
No,
always in the conversation with the first night.
The wrong conversation once again. Unbelievable.
Well,
that out. Every time you say first night, it's going to be a chop in the video because I'm just going to take the chunk out. I will not give you the gratification of bringing this up over and over and over again. Just
throw in Gumby or Timmy the Tooth or right.
Timmy the Tooth. Chase, that's a deep
So-
cut. Jeez.
So we didn't have it on VHS. We had to like rent it every time we wanted to watch it. So it was rarer, but we always liked watching it. Does that make sense? Like it was always like, hey, let's get that again. And then you grow up and then you forget about the movie. And it was really funny because I'm in my office and I work from home, but I have to close the door and my kids are always coming in when I have meetings and stuff, and I have to I'm on the phone. So I pretty much turned into an adult, and it does make me sad. So right after I got off work, or kids came home, and Landon wanted to show me his game. It was Pete the Dragon, Don't Eat Pete or whatever. So we had candies and we ate that, and we had a great time. I stopped my work, so it definitely struck a chord this time around, because I could actually apply it and go, maybe I'm working a little too much.
Yeah, I think I wanted Chase to tell a story that he told me and my brothers a few years ago when he had a back surgery. We'll get to that in a minute, but just on that, Justin, the difference of how you view this movie as an adult than when you were a kid. Both you and Chase have touched on it, and so I've got some thoughts as well. But before I gush and flow about this movie, Brownie, what about you? What's your relationship with this movie? How many times have you seen it, do you think?
Oh, too many times. It was also on repeat in my house. Now I would say I probably haven't watched it in like the past 10 years, so it's been a really long time, but to be quite honest with you, I'm just going to gush and awe over it as well. I really tried to put my nostalgia aside while watching it this time around. And, man, about a quarter of the way through, I just said, screw it. This movie's just great. And there's just so much, it just brought back so much. And there's just so many things in that movie that just make it a riot to watch. And also one thing I really appreciated is how it held up. I think we talked about it not too long ago, but the 90s were great when they would create a kids movie and then they would have a lot of adult content intermixed in there. And again, Hook's one of those that it nailed it and did a really good job doing that. And I would still say the box is still the scariest thing. I still might have nightmares about the box. Man, that brought back a whole slew of memories all in itself.
The Boo Box.
Yeah.
Boo Box. Oh, dude. Yes, there has to be, when we made our list of what makes a movie perfect, I don't know if we included like nostalgia, but that's got to be a component, right? I mean, just something you grew up with. Everybody has it. But also, to be fair, the counter argument would be, well, then you're just allowing your bias to make your decision objectively. We're trying to find like perfect movies objectively, right? And so maybe that wouldn't be a good qualifier. But let me just talk a little bit about this awesome movie and how insane Steven Spielberg is for not liking this movie after having made it. He said, I read this on Wikipedia just today, actually, where he said something along the lines of, we didn't have the technology needed to make this movie what I wanted, what I imagined in my head. So unfortunately, we were limited by the practical effects we had available. I'm like, dude, that's the genius of this movie. Like Neverland, are you kidding me? The pirate ship, and Neverland in general, like the whole thing is just practical effects. Like he created that treehouse where the Lost Boys lived. Like none of that was CG. You think that's what we want, Steven Spielberg? That's insane to me that he could be so oblivious to his own genius because he wanted to do more special effects when all we've been begging for the last 20 years is less special effects. Give me practical effects. I shouldn't say special, but CG, you know what I mean? Like special effects, but practical effects. And so it's kind of disheartening to read that from him because I'm like, do you not know how much of a genius you were for creating that set and how much every little kid like the idea that they had to destroy that set after they had built it instead of converting it to some sort of corner in Disneyland or something where it could be cherished forever, kind of like Hobbitown in New Zealand. You know how they preserve that? Like it is a tragedy that they had to break down that set because there's so much going on and it's so I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun as a kid. It's fun as an adult. To Brownie's point, I remember seeing this movie in theaters and hearing parents cracking up at some of the things Robin Williams said that went completely over my head. And I'm like, I don't know what's funny about that, but all the adults like it. But I like Neverland, and I like The Lost Boys, and I like sword fighting, and I like it. This is what I was telling you about the other day, Justin. We were in this little argument offline, but essentially, like a good kids movie is one that placates adults as well. That you can actually do both. And I feel like kids movies these days just drop the ball so often where it's just like, nope, it's for kids. So we're going to bore adults because sorry, it's a kids movie. You have to suffer. No, let's bring back the 90s, man. Let's bring back when like kids movies were adult movies. You know, like there's, I mean, I can't even think any of any off the top of my head, but so many adult jokes like
Goonies.
What?
Goonies.
Yeah, Goonies, but in particular, Hook, like some of the adult humor in there is just, you know, when he's drunk, when Tinkerbell first comes in, there's all sorts of jokes, like as he's like psychoanalyzing himself. I didn't understand any of that mumbo jumbo as a kid. The insult battle that he has with Rufio, so many of those insults, I could repeat the words as a kid, but as an adult, like, no, I nearsighted gynecologist. Are you kidding me? Like that is such an intelligent joke from Robin Williams, and you know he's just spitballing those. Even Rufio's insults were just so like diabolically disgusting, and I'm just like, it was so entertaining to watch. And then just a couple things, and I'll pass the ball back to Chase because I want you to tell that story about your back. But one part of this movie that I just drew a blank. What was I just talking about?
The cleverness, adult and kid, and
oh yeah. One thing I wanted to say is I read Peter Pan, the actual book. So to touch on what Chase said, what's crazy about this movie is that it's the best sequel ever made, and nobody can ever make a prequel that matches it. Nobody. Like the Disney Peter Pan was a cartoon, and it was fun, and it'd get me and my brothers all riled up where we'd be sword fighting and have like a hanger for a hook. And we'd like pretend, you know, to be in Neverland and stuff. Chase, you remember this, right? But it was like, it was still, you know, goofy. It's Disney. It's cartoon. There's a bomb instead of poison. Why'd they change that? I don't know. Like it didn't stick to the source material very strictly. And so, you know, that was kind of, it's good. There's a place for the cartoon Peter Pan. I mean, Captain Hook screaming, "I'm a codfish," will never get old to me. I find that movie absolutely hilarious. But in terms of just being true to the story and like having it be like an action adventure, kind of fell short. You know, Peter Pan has a sword with the blades this big, and you're like, what are we doing here? And then you've got like the play that was recorded in the 1960s, where that chick plays Peter Pan. Nobody likes that movie. That's just a play on film. That's dumb. And it's a girl. Nobody wants a girl Peter Pan. And then since Hook, we've had multiple renditions, and they miss. Nobody can do it. And I'm like, what's with Peter Pan? It's an awesome story, and the best retelling of the story we've ever seen put on film is the sequel. It's not even the story. It's Hook. Hook is so good. If you could just make the Peter Pan story like the same quality as Hook, we'd have a perfect 1-2 prequel sequel. But nobody can do it. Nobody can do the Peter Pan story like Steven Spielberg did the Hook story. It's incredible.
And so, you know, Bo, I thought the same thing when I was watching it, and I even narrowed it down to even Hook himself. I don't think there's ever been even the very first cartoon Peter Pan, although that cartoon Hook was brilliant. I still don't think anybody tops Dustin Hoffman as Hook. His performance as Hook will go down in history, in my opinion, as the best Hook to have ever done it. He was beautiful to watch.
And his intelligence, like how his wittiness and the things that he says. And then right, I was pointing out to Stacy, like his, and I think one of the things that makes Dustin Hoffman so great is how evil he was. Mm-hmm. And you got to see that true sinister evil side of him, where he's like, I'm gonna make Pan's kids love me, right? Yeah. And you're like, that is, it's not just like a mean thing to do. That is pure evil.
Absolutely.
Well,
and so,
dude, he had it all, man, because he had that evil component, which he played so well, but he also hammed it up enough that he was like funny. Before that happened, you know, when Smee's like, lightning just struck my brain, he's like, that must have hurt. That whole scene is so funny. Like, it's funny, it's dark. He threatens suicide. Like, this is a kid's movie. And he's like, stop me, Smee, stop me. You know, like that whole scene. It's brilliant, man. Dustin Hoffman, I think he stole the movie even more than Robin Williams did. Like, he was so good at Captain Hook, whether he's being evil, diabolical, menacing, or he's hamming it up, or he's being funny, or he was also serious. You know, when he like takes off and like draws his sword, it's like, oh, dude, he came to fight. Like, there's actual like there's a formidableness to him as well. He just hit all those notes, man. I think Dustin Hoffman, perfect performance. If this isn't a perfect movie, that was a perfect performance, in my opinion.
And I think Bob Hoskins as Smee was such a great support. I think that's one of the things that made him shine so much is how great Bob Hoskins as Smee in a supporting role was. Exactly. Right, like you know, like the introduction. Right, think about the introduction that Smee does for Hook, and man, you just get pumped. And he's like, what is it? The steel-handed stingray. Captain, I'm like, what a dope, dude, it's like Smee was announcing a fight or something, you know. He's like giving him all giving him those nicknames, and then like getting the people to cheer him on, like Hook, 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 and he like steps aside. Like, that was what, like, to your point, Chase. Bob Hoskins knew his role in that movie, and he knew that his role was just to set up Dustin Hoffman for whatever it was, whether it was an entrance, whether it was a joke, whether it was like his plan to foil Pan's kids, whatever it was. Like, his role as Smee was so crucial in the movie. The movie wouldn't have been the same without it. And yeah, I agree. I think that even Dustin Hoffman's perfect performance would be less perfect without Bob Hoskins there.
And even watching it this time around, one thing I did notice is that this movie nailed it on is the art of the extras. Even coming down to the extras. I mean, we've fallen short on extras. I sometimes will watch a movie and just watch the extras and watch what they do. And you can tell that, you know, they're half-assing it, just barely doing their motions, you know, like these extras, you know, you got people flipping in the background. You got guys actually sword fighting. It really looked like they were sword fighting. It was beautiful. And I was sitting there just appreciating the extras.
Yeah,
and you don't do that anymore. I sometimes now I purposely try not to look at the extras because I know it's going to fall short. It's going to be crap. So it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Bring us back to the 90s, baby.
Agreed, dude. I remember in was it Iron Man 2? I watched a YouTube video and somebody slowed down where the drones came through at the expo towards the beginning of the movie and like just dropping bombs. And he played it in slow motion. Not a single civilian was even hit or hurt. Like, Disney specifically hit the ground as everybody's running, and nobody. And to your point, it's like they don't even do extras like they used to anymore. Because if you watch Hook and you watch the pirates in the background, they're all doing something. Like, especially during the final battle with the Lost Boys, like everybody brought their A game, including the extras. Which I don't know. Glenn Close being the pirate that gets put in the boo box. Unless I had IMDb,
Phil Collins
I would have never known.
Yeah, Phil Collins being the inspector.
Yeah.
And then that little fun fact of it was George Lucas and Carrie Fisher kissing on the bridge, right? Like things like that. But like, you know, to the extras thing, like in that final fight. When Pan starts fighting, he's killing people. He's running them through and slice. Like, it's not just ting ting and then he tosses them. Like, there were 3 or 4 people he stabs in the gut and they fall over, or he slices them and they fall over. I'm like, this is PG.
Not to mention the death of Rufio. Like that's what I love about, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is what I'm talking about, where you can make a kids movie that's enjoyable for adults as well. It wasn't just the humor that was enjoyable. It was the high stakes. Like, Hook actually killed Rufio, Pan's successor. And the scene was so good too. Like, this movie just molds adventure, action, humor, and sincerity so perfectly, because that little last moment that Rufio had with Peter Pan where he says you wish he had a dad like him. I mean, that just wrenches your heartstrings as Rufio dies, and you're just like, oh, this is serious now. And Robin Williams, a comedian who was overweight most of his life, who got in shape for this role to wear green tights, all of a sudden like switches it on and is a sword fighter for that final scene. And you can see he's pissed that Rufio died. Like he's not making jokes and he's not like brushing it off, and they're not being like, this is a kid's movie, but it's so enjoyable as an adult. Why can't they do this anymore? Why has this art form been lost is my big question. And Peter Pan, I mean, just the story, the legend, the history that we have of the story of Peter Pan. I mean, what a great scaffolding for a movie like Hook. But also, like I said before, I feel like if they just stuck to the source material and did it right and did it dark, like I was saying about King Arthur, anything, I don't care if it's Teletubbies, modernize it, make it dark, make it badass, and I'm there. I love when directors can do that to like an IP. Stop fluffing it up. Stop being like, oh, this is for kids, and so we need to make it kid friendly. No, bring it, like, make it both, like Hook did. Just use the formula.
Peter Pan would be a black woman today.
And make her gay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which is so tragic. And just on that point, I mean, I read the book Peter Pan for the first time 10 years ago. Obviously I watched the cartoon and everything, but I was like, I gotta read the book and just actually and it is dark. It's like Hook. It has the same energy as Hook, where like kids are killing pirates. Pirates are killing little boys called Lost Boys. It is actually high stakes adventure where people are dying, but it's also fun and fancy free. Like it's also whimsical. It's also funny. Like Hook captured the magic of the book better than any other movie that tried to do what the book does. As even to callbacks. One thing, as I was reading the book, I was like, no way, because I grew up watching Hook. And so reading the book as an adult, I'd see things like Tinkerbell calling a lost boy an ass. And I'm like, she called Peter an ass when like she shrinks back down and like spooks him away or whatever towards the end. She's like, get out of here, you ass. And I'm like, that came from the book. Tinkerbell called Lost Boys an ass. Like that was in her vocabulary. Also, Toodles in the book would always, like, he'd see a butterfly, and he as they're like, as the troop is going through the tall grass or whatever, he'd see a butterfly and he'd go off in the distance, and then the Lost Boys would fight a bunch of Indians or pirates or whoever, and by the time the battle was over and they both went their separate ways, Toodles would come back and he'd be like, oh, you guys had a fight? I was just over there chasing the butterfly. And so in this movie, when they come back at the end and Toodles as an old man says, looks like I missed the adventure again, it was like a callback to that. In the book, he kept missing the adventures. And so it's really cool, like stuff I wouldn't have even noticed had I just watched the movie and never read the book. But Hook was even true to the original source material in all of those different ways, which I really appreciated as well. I mean, Steven Spielberg did his homework and he did a good job, and yet he doesn't like the movie. It just baffles me.
Yeah,
I'm offended by that.
So like some of those other Easter eggs. So after the kids are taken, like in the first act of the movie, right? They do this pan over like a movie pan over a desk, and I'm assuming it's Toodles' desk, but it has is it Michael's hat? No, it's John's glasses and top hat. Michael's teddy bear, right, are sitting on this desk, and right, and then there's the ship in the bottle. And you're like, what a clever like little nod, even to like the cartoon, right, and again source material where you have those little things, and yeah, it's
how about
so great.
How about Wendy's house? I mean, that looked like the grandparents' house from heaven. Every little kid wants a house like that. Like wants his grandparents to have a house like that, where it is just cozy. It's like dim lighting, but there's also room to run around and play and be a little kid.
Bedroom with the two big doors that open up. Get out of town.
The nursery. Yeah, the nursery. That house spooky too. Okay, so we talked about how this movie's great action, adventure, humor, dark, sincere, high stakes, but also it's scary. Like that abduction scene is so horrifying, especially for like a little kid. I mean, the windows open and they're screaming and the wind's blowing and it's at nighttime. And then when Peter and his wife get home and you see the hook, like the scrape up the wall, like you trace
And
the
it's like
steps up.
winding like this.
Yes. And then you see the dagger with the note. I mean, this movie is dark and it's good. Like, it's not just dark to be dark for the reason being dark. It's dark because it serves a purpose. It drives the plot. And it really, like I said before, like, it's high stakes. You're like, these kids were stolen. What are you going to do? It's a revenge movie. It's a like comeback story. You know, Peter Pan, it's an amnesia. And now he remembers. Like, this movie has it all, man. It's so good. Just every beat makes you laugh, makes you cry, pulls on your heartstrings, it gets you rooting for the good guy, really makes you hate the bad guy, but also the bad guy makes you laugh. And he makes some really good points about, like, your parents were really happy before you came into the world. You know what I mean? Like playing on that, where every parent's like, he kind of has a point. Like, I do look forward to my kids going to bed. Like, I'm trying to get them to sleep as fast as possible so I can have some me time. So, like, it's almost like these half truths that he spins in order to manipulate the kids. And so, I don't know, man, this movie just, do we know who wrote it? Like, I'd be curious to know, like, if Steven Spielberg wrote it or who the writer was, because the dialogue is super clever. And again, I'm sure Robin Williams ad-libbed a lot of this stuff, but movie's great.
So writers were J.M. Barrie, right, the original writer of Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So they took material from like the Peter Pan stories, and then James Hart and Nick Castle, like, no idea. So, but yeah, Justin, you seem like you have something you want to say, or something's on your mind.
Oh, well, I was just waiting for you guys to stop gushing so I could actually talk about the critiques of this movie.
Critiques.
Critiques.
How dare
So-
you?
What a buzzkill.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but a third of the way, I started noticing there was some lip sync all over the place. It probably was because when they edited movies, it was on film, and you're like, boy, we can't get this actor to do all these things. We'll just have them reread over, and they didn't have the technology to do it. So, like, when Rufio is face to face with Robin Williams for the first time, and his mouth is moving, but what he's actually saying and his inflections are different. And there was a lot of cuts where he's talking like Hook is walking back and forth when you first see him, and he's talking, but what he's saying and what he's mouthing up there, because we have, bigger screens. I was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of I would just call it movie sloppiness that I was noticing. Unfortunately, it wasn't overbearing, but then I was like keyed into it. So I don't know. Did you guys see any of that?
I didn't notice that, but was it? Sometimes it happens when my sound bar isn't synced with my TV correctly. Could it have been an issue like that?
No, because I rewound it and I was like, I don't know. There's a lot of cuts in this movie where Peter Pan is sitting, and then his eyes are glowing. They have the eyes on him, and then he stands up and he's saying these different lines, and they're trying to stack them. But it's interesting how they had to make movies back then where you can't just, you had to fudge, let's just call it fudge dialogue. And there's an old movie called Ega, and they're just riding in a dune buggy, and then somebody like from the crew, and it is not any of the actor's voice, they just go, "Watch out for snakes," and it's very blatant. It's just like, what would used to be a PSA announcement in this movie. That's kind of what it reminded me of, that like they would have to say, oh, we missed this dialogue, or I didn't like this, and they had to tweak it, and they didn't have digital technology yet, so you just had to splice it in and kind of fudge it in there. And there's a lot of that in this movie. I'm not saying that it's it was a little bit annoying, and as far as perfection, I was gearing towards it. So that was the
I feel like this is
One of-
another one of those everything everywhere all at once where you claim that there was some blurry part that you couldn't show to your kids and none of us knew what you were talking about. I feel like this is another one of
No,
those.
I know, like I can't remember which one it is, but I remember there being, and I think what it is that they take multiple takes, and
Yeah.
if the dialogue was better in one take than the other, even though they're saying the same thing, it's the way that they said it, and so yeah, Justin, like I remember it happening like once or twice that I noticed, but you know, again, right. Like, yeah, sound editing could have been a little bit better. And
Also, remember too that flaws in movies, in terms of like practical flaws, aren't diminishing to the perfection. So for another example, I don't know if you're going to touch on this one, Justin, but when Hook is asleep and Jack's watch falls out of his pocket, if you watch this in Blu-ray on 4K, you can literally see fishing line attached to his mustache that they're pulling to tick in line with. And it's like they didn't expect us to have 4K TVs watching on Blu-ray when they made this in 1991. And so
it's for a 27-inch screen that was like 4x3.
Yeah.
And they cut like 2 feet on each side of the movie. You didn't even get to see them.
Right.
I understand that, but just watching it this time, I'm like, oh man, have I watched too many movies now that this is like standing out to me? And then the only glaring thing on this movie that I need you guys to address, and I've always, for the life of me, still to this day, the ending is a gimmick, and I do not like how he dies. He's like, and then he has to stand up as it comes down, and then he disappears, and you hear a burp. But it's like, what was this all about? Now I get it, they're in Neverland, and magic can happen, but explain to me why we got a gimmick at the end there.
Because otherwise it would have been rated PG-13 or rated R. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
Justin, even as a kid, that bothered me, man.
Okay, yeah.
You're telling me that Hook can stab Rufio through the chest, but we can't get something similar for the death of Hook? You know what I mean? I remember thinking that even as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like your brain can't process. Like we just saw Real Death, like you were saying, and even I really loved the part where he pulls out his checkbook and they shoots him, and then the guy behind it, the hole, he just falls over dead. Reminds me of like the Muppet movies for some reason. But so they have death all around, but then you have the climax, and it's like if it was just done a little bit differently, maybe Steven Spielberg would have liked it.
So to me, I go like I think it's just the coming full circle of the crocodile started with his hand and it got the rest of him. And I know that's a cop out. Like, yeah, I wish it was a better ending for him, but you know, it is that's probably to me the biggest like could have done better.
Do you know what it might have been too? Is like there might have been studio interference or even Steven Spielberg being like, hey, the hero of the movie can't be a killer, even though he kills other pirates during the fight. But there's probably some sort of like nobility there. You know, he had Hook's wig on the sword and he gave him a couple different chances to live and told him to leave Neverland because that's like the heroic, noble thing to do. Even though, again, if you're saying true to the source material, Peter Pan was a 13-year-old killer. Like he bragged about killing pirates. He bragged about cutting off Hook's hand and feeding it to the crocodile. Like he was a punk in the book. And it would have been cool to see a little bit more of that through Robin Williams. But again, you know, maybe that's part of like Peter Pan's story arc is yes, he's an adult and yes, he became Peter Pan again, but he still has those adult intuitions where he's not just this radical 13-year-old, I want to kill everybody and everything. He's kind of matured a little bit even as Peter Pan. This is me like, you know, this is me trying to justify it because I love the movie so much. But I like Chase's explanation too. And again, with practical effects, it's difficult.
That's a big old 100-foot, and you don't want to actually kill your actor either, or your stunt double.
Exactly, the stunt double. Yep. So I can see reasons for it, but yeah, to be fair, even as a kid, I was disappointed with that ending.
And I would also say a caveat to that is if this was made in the 2000s, it's what you say, why can't we make movies like this anymore? They would have CGI'd that, and then the crocodile would have talked, and then you would have hated that part. So like maybe there was no way for a satisfying ending, no matter what decade it was in. It would be too CGI or too practical effects, and there's not really a happy medium that we found yet. Or maybe there is. There are a few that can meld both of those together. And did anybody else want him to swear at the end? Take your ship, get out of here. I was like, did he just say it? No, I was waiting for it, but it was ship. And then it was really crazy to me that you get the when she opens up the book and it's like, you're Peter Pan, and he's not believing it, but John Williams added a choir like we have in episode 1 of Phantom Menace, like oh, like that's where he got it from. We're thinking, oh, this is new for him. No, he had it like 8 years before in Hook. So the music was definitely something I latched onto this time, just knowing that it was John Williams, and it's kind of a lesser, like he has so many blockbusters, you overlook that he also did Hook. So it was really cool to hear. I'm like, I'm seeing all this stuff and getting the John Williams vibes all over.
You know,
So-
I used to criticize the music in my own head, not out loud, but in my own head. Every time I'd watch Home Alone, I'd be like, John Williams used the same music for Home Alone that he did for Hook, pretty much. But then, to your point, in Hook, he takes it a level further with the choir, with the ooh, like it makes it serious, man. Like that, it really like brings the mood of like you have to turn back into Peter Pan, you have to go to Neverland, you have to relive your past again. Like I'm getting chills talking about it. I love that premise. I love that idea of like a hero going back to a world long forgotten where he doesn't even want to have anything to do it, but he has to get his kids back. And Wendy's the only one that understands it. And she's trying to teach him, trying to motivate him, trying to be like, you have to be that Peter Pan. You have to bring back the pan to save your kids. What a cool premise for a sequel to a movie that didn't even have a prequel. You know what I mean? Like, so cool. But anyway, yeah, the great point about the music. And also, you know, when Peter's in the kid's room and he's looking at like the picture of Hook on the ship, like the music in that, and it's like a dark room, the wind's blowing and he like shudders. Watching the movie, I shudder. I'm not even cold, but that scene makes you go, ooh, like it's haunting. It's eerie. It's melancholy. It's cool. I like it. And the music is kind of, yeah, that's got to give credit where credit's due. I think the music made it that way.
So Bo, I think I remember the story you wanted me to tell. I'm gonna tie it into some of the like cool little factoids that I noticed on this go around. So how old's Harvey? Harvey's 8. So 9 years ago, I ruptured a disc. It almost like it was bad. Right, I had to walk with a cane. It was debilitating pain. Like it was just terrible. And I couldn't really do much. And I think I watched Hook during that time, and man, it gutted me. And it gutted me for this reason. So at the beginning of the movie, right, little Maggie's doing her show with a girl, Peter Pan, right? If you notice that, right? Little Easter egg call back to the play. Moira leans over to Peter and goes, "You're missing it." Right? I'm like, And then when they're at the baseball game, Moira leans over to Maggie and goes, "Where's your dad? He's missing it." And then in their fight, right, when these owls fornicate somewhere else, right? And so Moira and Peter are having their little thing. She brings it up again. She goes, "You are not being careful. You are missing it." Right? You are missing their childhood is essentially what she's referring to. You're missing all of these key moments. And man, if I got to tell you, when I was basically incapacitated and I couldn't be a dad, and you start hearing things like you're missing it and you're not doing the right thing, and I'm like, oh man, like I got to figure out what I'm doing. Like I need to be a better dad. I don't want to be like Peter at the beginning of the movie, right? I want to be the final Peter. Yeah.
Well, Chase, I remember you saying specifically when you had that bulge disc or whatever, and you were walking around like you had to stick up your butt because you could barely move. Your back was hurting you so bad. You said that the scene where Peter climbs the crow's nest and is reaching out for the kids really wrecked you, because you were like, I couldn't save my kids right now in this state that I'm in. And so like watching how you're like, I've got to get stronger. I've got to fix myself. I've got to be a capable dad, because I never want to be in that situation where she's like, all you have to do is touch us, that, all you have to do is touch my finger or whatever.
That scene still gets me. I still tear up where, right, he's reaching and he's not like, right. And the pirates are making fun of him, and right. Hook's like, why doesn't he just, or Smee's like, why doesn't he just fly? And man, the one that gets me is when Maggie goes, Mommy could do it. I'm like, like, it's the biggest freaking gut punch. And like, dude, it's like, and it makes me go, what do I need to do so that I could save my kids? Right. Like, yeah. So man, and then kind of tying in with John Williams, man, I got to say the other place where I tear up really, really hard, and most of the time I end up crying is when he's having the memory of him running away as a baby, which like his tram just rolled down the hill, right? But right, and so that happens, and then him visiting Wendy. And then him coming back and staying for Moira, and him going like, I wanted to be a dad, like that, right? That's what got him to stay, was he wanted to be a dad. And then that was his happy thought, was him being a dad was his happy thought. And man, I gotta tell you, you mix that with the buildup and the crescendo of the music, where he's like, I got it. Oh, I lost it. And then he falls, and then right, Tinks go, hold on to that happy thought. And then he lands with his feet like about a foot off the ground, and you hear that da-dun, da-dun. And then Robin Williams gets that smile on his face as he flies up, changes his costume, gets back into its tights, right, through the roof of the tree or whatever. And then it's that just perfect, like dun 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 ba-da-da-dun dun. And then like him flying over the sun, dude, that whole thing, as I'm feeling all these feels about like his happy thought and what allows him to soar, is he's a dad. And I'm like, what better encapsulation of what it means to like have pride in being a dad, that is your happy thought. Your happy thought is your son, right? Or is being a dad. And man, like every time it's the music with the like 4 or 5 minutes before, where he's going through the realization and he latches onto his happy thought, and then the rest of the time, right, it's like he knows what his happy thought is. His happy thought is he's a dad. And I'm like, I need to do better. Like, right, like it always hits me. I'm like, I need to do better. My happy thought needs to be my kids, and they are, but it's exemplified in those moments, especially with the music. And so I just love that whole scene. It's my favorite scene of the movie.
Let me ask Brownie, what was your favorite part about this movie, and what were any of the depletions from perfections or at least criticisms that you have of the movie?
Favorite part of the movie, mine's a weird one. Mine is where where Hook comes and takes the kids. That's my favorite part of the movie. I think it's like the catalyst to obviously the movie, but like to just everything. It like really sets the tone, because you do figure out how evil Hook is, and that then you're like, oh, this is kind of a serious movie. And I remember always that that always scared me as a kid. And it's always just kind of stuck with me. So I would say that's probably my favorite part of the movie. and the the critiques that I have are just really the ones that we've already talked about, to be quite honest with you. Hook's death. My only justification with that is, they try to incorporate it because the cartoon, he dies by the alligator, right? That's my own, that even growing up I was kind of like, oh, maybe that's how they were trying to tie it in. But obviously, seeing it now, it's like he stands up and he clearly just is in between the alligator. He could have walked out probably. So it's just stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, I really have no critiques. So
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a kid, that's like nightmare fuel, man. I mean, for most kids who are scared of the boogeyman under their bed or the monster in the closet, like taking them to see Hook, it's like you're fueling whatever that fear is that all kids have, that they're gonna get stolen in the night by a. Oh, and how haunting was it when Maggie, watching it multiple times, you kind of know what she's referring to when she's like, there was a man in the window, a painter or whatever she said.
Yeah.
He's like, that was Hook. That's so scary that he was there while they were saying goodnight and reading bedtime stories and being all happy. Like Hook was just there, like biding his time, waiting outside the window. And then the window having the actual Hook. Oh, it's beautiful. Like the symbolism, the scariness, the mood that movie brings. It's just, so good.
I wonder why we don't do that in movies nowadays. If you look at all the nostalgia and all the, like we call them Easter eggs now, there's not a lot of movies with a bunch of Easter eggs and callbacks. And if you do, it's like too on the nose and you just call it fan service. But like all that subtle things where you said, I didn't even know that on the desk. But I remember seeing the glasses and all that stuff with the ship, but I didn't even think. And it's really cool to go back. Even that movie is how old now? How old are we? 2026. It'll be like 35 years old next year.
So
and to go back 35 years and to have that just call back. Those are the type of things that make movies great. Is when you haven't seen it for like, it's like if you've seen Star Wars and you never seen the stormtrooper hit his head, it's just like little things that make the experience enjoyable, even if you've seen it 100 times.
So I was gonna say, for me, the two movies in recent memory that have had excellent Easter eggs is one is D&D, right? Honor Among Thieves. If you play D&D, there's Easter eggs all over, and like again, super enjoyable movie. I had extra enjoyment because I got a lot of the references. And then the other one is Dune. Dune has so many Easter eggs. If you read the books and you read the prequels, and maybe it is fan service, but it was really like, if you read the books, we're going to give you so much extra that's just there. And it's not distracting. It's not, like on the nose. It's just little things where you're like, you appreciate your fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, I have one other point or I guess two other points that I wanted to bring up. One is the other part where I get a little emotional is when Moira wakes up after the kids come back, right? And they're like, she's like an angel. Let's not wake her, right? And they go back into their beds, and she stands up, closes the door, and then like sees them in their bed, but doesn't register that that's what's happening. And like that part gets me too. When she's talking with Wendy, and she's like, yeah, I can even like I dream that they're in their beds, and it even lingers beyond, or whatever she says, and then the kids pop out of their beds, and that like that desperation relief that Moira has, where she just crumbles. I'm like, oh man, that's that hits hard. Because right, imagine you can't do anything. There's literally nothing you can do, and all of a sudden your kids are back. Like, what a relief. And you see it in the way she does it. And I just thought it was like peak acting there. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out, and it was a handful of times referred to, and it's like foreshadowing. So after the kids are stolen, what does Toodles say? Toodles says, he goes, have to fly, have to fight, have to crow, have to save Maggie, have to save Jack. And that is the exact order of what Peter Pan does. He learns to fly, he fights, he crows with Rufio on the pirate ship. He first saves Maggie, then he saves Jack. And I'm like, yeah. And Rufio kind of does the same thing in a negative connotation. When Peter Pan's first there, he goes, he can't fly, he can't fight, and he can't crow, right? And so he does that, and then brings it back later when Peter Pan relearns how to fly. But I like, it was just one of these like little things where I'm like, he flies and then he fights and they crow, saves Maggie, saves Jack. And I'm like, what a great little foreshadowing that Toodles does kind of at the beginning of the movie of what Peter Pan needed to do. Those are the steps he needed to accomplish.
What's cool too is if you look at this like the archetypal hero's journey, it's exactly that. It's Peter Pan in the hero's journey, because he's the reluctant hero that needs to go on the adventure that he doesn't want to go on, but duty calls him, it compels him to do it. Like all of the elements are there, but then so that's the structure, that's the scaffolding. But then as you build the movie, it's got so much of Neverland, Peter Pan, legend, even Wendy said that Barry, the author of Peter Pan, would come over and listen to her stories. Like they tied it in, they made it real. Like it was actually our world, a real world that they created this movie around, like the story around. It was just, I don't know, it just hit all the beats. My biggest flaw for the movie, in my opinion, is his story about when he first ran away and decided he didn't want to grow up. That didn't make a lot of sense. Like you said, Chase, the cart just kind of wheeled away. I'm like, how horrible is that mother that she, first of all, lets her baby roll away and then doesn't go look for him? Like, what's going on here? And then Tinkerbell has to come pick him up. And I'm like, and how did he remember that anyway? He was just an infant. So I give it a lot of grace, because I'm like, okay, memories are fickle. He was a baby and he probably didn't like that. That's what he remembered, even though that's probably not how it happened. So there's my the one fault I find with it. And it was kind of a slow part of the movie. Like the movie really slows down at that part. It's kind of gets just a little bit boring. And so that was the only critique I had. But again, it's not big enough to be it's not like a glaring plot hole or anything. It's telling you about his past, and it's honestly driving toward. And again, I said that it's slow, but it's intentionally slow because it's right before things pick up. What you were just saying, Chase, your favorite part of the movie. And so the contrast, I've always said this, action movies need boring parts. Otherwise, the action gets diluted and you don't appreciate it. You actually need a lull in the story in order to be a catalyst for the excitement that the action brings. If you don't have that, I first had this realization when I watched Transformers 2 a long time ago. It was the first time I watched it, and I was like, why am I bored? Like, there is so much going on the screen, explosions, flips, robots, fights. And I'm like, why am I bored? And it dawned on me, I'm like, there's not a boring part in this movie. That's why I'm bored. Like, you actually have to slow things down in order to accentuate the action. Otherwise, it dilutes the potency of the action. And so anyway, that's my excuse for Hook having this kind of lull, is because it's bringing you down right before it skyrockets you back up. Pan is back. He's a kid. He's making jokes. Him and Tinkerbell have their little back and forth. And then she, knocks some sense into him, or he knocks some sense into himself after he kisses her and realizes what he's there for. And then there's the big adventure, and the Lost Boys are down. Rufio's backing up Peter Pan. Like everybody's on board to go save Pan's kids. So yeah, I think it needed it, but I still was.
This is also something I didn't even think about, but a kids movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long in the 90s, that's bold. And you think about how slow this movie is. It's about an adult on a phone, and he's missing these games, and you're like, I don't like this guy, And if you didn't know Robin Williams, I think this is one of our first movies with Robin Williams before Mrs. Doubtfire and Flubber and all the, in the 90s. This is like one of the first movies that you see Robin Williams in, and you're like, this guy's a jerk.
Also, I remember watching this in theaters for the very first time as a little kid, and I don't remember my parents being like, oh, this is a Peter Pan movie. I think my brother, I think Alan might have said, "Oh yeah, it's about Peter Pan." And I'm like, "Oh, cool, like the cartoon." And so I went into it, and I remember as a kid being like, "Is this a grown-up movie?" Like for the full first act,
Yeah.
I'm like, "This isn't about Peter Pan. This is about a guy on his cell phone that's neglecting his kids." I'm like, "Is this a grown-up movie? What are we doing here?" And then
Yeah.
when he flies to Neverland, I'm like, "Oh!" I remember like my little, how old was I? 6-year-old. I was like, my little 6-year-old brain was like, "Oh, it is a kids movie. This is awesome. This is so much fun." But it took a while to get there, you know. I remember almost being deflated, being like, my parents brought me to a grown-up movie. This is gonna be boring. And then the kids get stolen and you're off to the races. It's great. All right. Anything else for you guys? I mean, I could talk about this all night. I've got
one last little thing, right? So Toodles talks about how he lost his marbles, right? And then Peter and Thud have that moment on the bridge or whatever where he's like
good.
yeah. But did you hear what he says? He goes, "Peter, I have something for you. These are Toodles's. These are his happy thought. And it's his marbles." And he puts them back. And right. And I lost him good. And then when Peter gives him his marbles back, what happens? Toodles flies. He has his happy thought back. I'm like, man, like these just like little, they kept it synchronous. They kept it cohesive. They didn't leave out little things. They like Toodles' happy thought were his marbles. And once he got his marbles back, he flies. I'm like, how awesome. Like that they like just did a little thing like that. Why else would you include that little scene other than to have Thud explicitly say that his marbles were his happy thought? Man, I just like even the details they got right. And man, I just love it so much.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And this is a gripe that I have. And I can usually tell before I look it up afterwards. I can tell when a movie has multiple writers for the script. You can almost tell, like, if a movie feels disjointed or if a character seems like they're one way at one part of the movie and another way another part of the movie. I hate when movies do that. And a lot of big budget, like big box office movies do that these days, and it bugs the crap out of me because of this. Like one writer or at least two writers that are on the same page, because stuff like that then can happen. Instead of it feeling disjointed, you actually feel like it's more jointed because you find little Easter eggs and little nuggets like that that tie it all together. So appreciate you pointing that out. Let's go to votes though. If you guys don't have anything else, if you vote no, feel free to say why, but also you're not invited back on this one. So I'll cast my vote first. The movie did what it was supposed to do. It was enjoyable as a kid. It's enjoyable as an adult. It holds up. If somebody hasn't watched Hook, I would honestly sit down and watch it with them and not be embarrassed. I'd be like, okay, just understand this is a 90s movie, but buckle in because it's a ride. So, I mean, on all the main metrics, the wow factor, I was wowed as a kid for the reasons I was saying earlier. Like, I've always loved, I mean, I grew up watching Rocky, and the only reason you watch a Rocky movie is for the wet blanket wife who won't let him fight, and then the training montage, and then the fight. Like, that sequence of events was just ingrained in my child brain, being like, I love that. I love a comeback story. I love an underdog who has to rise to the occasion and be somebody that he didn't even believe he could become. And Hook hits all those points, man. Like the training montage, the camaraderie, him realizing his true potential, him going back and becoming somebody he had left far behind in order to like be the hero, save his kids. I mean, it just had it all. So this movie absolutely is perfect in my mind. Brownie, let's go to you.
Yep, same. Perfect movie. That's all I got. That's all the gushing I got. I feel like I've spilled the beans on everything, and yeah, it just hits it all. It hits it all in my opinion. And yeah, it's might be a perfect 10 in my eyes.
Woo, perfect 10. Chase, you hear that? I hope you're proud. All right, Justin, give it to us. I can see the poison rising in your eyes.
It's no first night.
It's good, but is it first night good? I mean, is it Godfather good? You know, all the things, all the tropes. It's not Godfather good. So like, how can it be perfect? You know? It's not an 11 out of 10. I can tell you that much. Do I think It's an 8 out of 10. Well, it's not a 4 out of 10 either, Bo. It's an 8 out of 10, but it's also a 9 out of 10. So it is a perfect movie.
Chase, you did it. You did it. You got a unanimous, and it wasn't a layup. I feel like this isn't one that most people are like, oh yeah, of course, Hook is a perfect movie. Like there's actually some controversy behind it, especially seeing as Steven Spielberg pretty much disavowed it. And actually, I don't think Robin Williams really liked it either. I think I heard somewhere that it was one of his least favorite roles. It's just sad because this movie's so great. I just wish everybody loved it. All right, now the moment we've all been waiting for. Brownie is with us. He's next in line to nominate his next perfect movie. I'm buckling in,
And the first of 2026, right? Because
that's right. Yeah,
we've got 2 weeks off.
That's right. So Brownie, hit us with it.
All right, I'm going out on a limb on this one.
Don't
Okay.
make 2026 suck.
Going out on a limb on this one. I really, really love this movie. First time I saw it, I loved it. And then the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth time that I watched it, I loved it. And I just recently watched it again, and I still love it. It is dialogue driven. So it is not super action packed. I'm looking at you, Bo. Don't fall asleep during the movie. I know you. The movie is The King.
The
I've
King.
never seen it.
Okay.
I've never seen.
Okay. It's a history movie. I'm not sure how accurate of history it is, but it is history.
Just think,
And-
you only need to tell us what you want to tell us.
And that's all. I'll leave it. I'll just leave it as there. And again, I'm going out on a limb on this one. So
It's so generic. I just want to make sure. The King.
This is
Yeah.
this is with Edward Norton, right? I think I've seen
Correct.
clips of it on Instagram, but I've never seen the full movie. But I heard that Edward Norton is the guy behind the mask. You never actually see his face, but it's him.
No. That's
Nope.
That's the Kingdom of
Kingdom
Heaven.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm mixing it up.
This
Never
is Timothy Chalamet, Joel Edgerton, Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
This is the movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It is 2019, The King. Okay. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, neither have
I
I.
know the actors in it.
Let's
Okay,
raw
I
dog this one.
really want you to pay attention to Robert Pattinson in this movie.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Awesome. Cool. All right, we have our next movie. So we'll get that queued up. We'll inform the other gentlemen, whoever wants to join on our next phone call. And I'll see, we're doing Christmas next week, New Year's the week after. So 3 weeks from now, we will reconvene. And I look forward to it. Love you, dudes.
Looks good
Love you.
to see.